It's Monday, November 18th, 2019, and I'm Dave Sobel. 3 things to know today. The energy sector simulates a cyber attack and what we can learn, updates on voice and voice assistants, and Microsoft's strategy shown clearly in their actions. This is the business of tech. Last week, the energy sector came together with an event called GridX. The event, which takes place every 2 years, simulates a cyber attack on the electrical grid, bringing together government and private sector to understand the impact of such an attack on the infrastructure. The U.S. electrical system has been described as more of a quilt than a grid, with regional hubs and smaller regional players involved in the power delivery. There are more than 8,000 power plants with different owners and operators in the U.S. So why do we care? Well, the obvious answer is that it takes power to do everything else with technology. But more importantly, this kind of coordinated type of disaster planning should be part of any business's basic plans, and this is an example of how an industry can collectively achieve that. Obviously, the energy grid is larger than most businesses, but that doesn't mean there isn't something here to take away. The industrial sector has learned that self-reporting on safety incidents helps, and there are good reasons not to do this in cybersecurity, but that doesn't mean there should be no coordination and communication at all. An example of this would be the TSP ISO organization that was founded at IT Nation to help start this communication. Initiatives like this are something to watch or get involved with. The lessons: deliver disaster recovery planning and figure out how to communicate better about cyber threats. Diving back into the world of voice UI, research firm Canalys released data that shows in the third quarter, Google's share of the smart speaker market plummeted from roughly a third of the market to around 12%. Amazon has seen growth of nearly 70% since this time last year. Overall, Alibaba and Baidu are in the second and third places globally, showing significant growth. Microsoft also separately announced that they are discontinuing Cortana for iOS and Android in a list of countries including the UK, Canada, and Australia, although the US did not appear on that list. The announced strategy is to integrate Cortana further into Office 365. Why do we care? Starting with the market shares, Microsoft is out of the smart speaker space and they know it. The Alibaba and Baidu growth are clearly signs of the Chinese market, as we saw similar numbers last week on cloud revenues. The theme there remains two internets. The Microsoft moves illustrate the trend, with voice and voice assistants as another user interface. The use case here is the perfect example. Cortana adds new capabilities to Office 365, allowing your emails to be read to you when you can't use the screen, but not removing the way you might interact with touchscreen or your keyboard and mouse. Voice as a UI augments the solutions, not replaces, and this is the way to think about it. It's coming more and more and should be considered in any relevant implementations. With more insight into Microsoft's strategy, Microsoft and Salesforce have announced additional co-opetition. The companies have announced that Salesforce Marketing Cloud will be running on Azure, moving from AWS. The companies also announced Sales and Service Cloud integrations with Microsoft Teams. Why do we care? As Paul Greenberg at ZDNet writes, this is all part of the strategy. Microsoft has partnered with Oracle, ServiceNow, SAP, Adobe, Sony, and AT&T, among others, each time positioning Azure as part of the solution. Whatever technology you use, Microsoft can be part of that, via integration, underlay, overlay, or embedded. Microsoft wants to be the public cloud technology to deliver mission-critical business infrastructure. They're committed to platforms and ecosystems, to interoperability, and thus to partnerships. That's the strategy. It appears to be working. They are gaining ground on Amazon Web Services. That emphasis on partnerships should be encouraging news to anyone delivering services around technology. If you align with where they're going, Microsoft is proving to be interested in partnership. Today's episode was brought to you by the Killing It podcast. Did you catch episode 33, which came out on Tuesday? This week's topics: AI ethics with news out of the DoD, how much life is left in the RMM market, and a debate on digital transformation based on new tactile data. 3 experts, 3 topics, 30 minutes, and 1 focus on making money in IT. Catch the show on your favorite podcatcher or on mspradio.com. Thanks for listening to The Business of Tech. For the occasional story that doesn't make it onto the show, follow on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, where video shorts start this week. If you like the show, rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Lots more cooking here in the studio, and looking forward to sharing it with all of you. See you tomorrow.